Welcome, everybody. You're listening to the Wrestling Fans Insight Podcast. We're going to be talking about WWE Sunday Takedown today with WWE Bad Blood, where we take down some notes and we just have a little bit of a chat, interaction with you guys under the comments as well. We already got one here just saying, hey, back to Miami the Great. And let's go ahead and got my other co-hosts with me. We got Stampede and Carlos. How you guys doing today?
Wonderful.
So far, so good. I'll let you know tomorrow when fantasy ends.
But we're gonna get in. We'll talk about Bad Blood, and hopefully we can start this off really strong, just like the show did. And we did start off with our host of Bad Blood with Naomi and the tag champions as well, Cargill and Bianca Belair. And then we led right into our first matchup, which was the Hell in the Cell match. And it's supposed to be the big payoff feud for the Punk McIntyre storyline that's taken up more than most of the year. So, Carlos, let's go ahead and get your take on this opening matchup and some overall thoughts.
Man, this match was good. I think if you listen to our podcast, if you catch our spaces, I think we've all been really disappointed with CM Punk the man. But CM Punk the performer, I mean, he became tolerable for me yesterday. And the thing like we were talking about in our space on Monday, with this promo thing, and the comment I made was like, I don't need to hear any more promos, because for me, I need to see what they can do in the ring. I need to see that CM Punk can still bring it, especially when you listen to the promos. He talks about all this, it's like death feud but then he can't, but then he gets injured so easily. And so for me, I just needed to see it. And to me, they delivered. I think this match, it should have been the main event, if I'm being honest, because to me, like, you start with The Rock. I think, like, we'll get to that later on. Sorry, spoiler alert if you were just listening. But I feel like if they would have started with that show, because again, with the Bloodline stuff, it always goes over. I feel like this match could have been something where if they were stretched for time, they could have cut a little bit off of it. But just the psychology was done really well. I mean, we got blood. I think Drew getting split open was a happy accident because it just added so much to the feud. But I mean, I was really impressed with this match. It was just really good storytelling. I mean, I was invested. And again, like CM Punk, the performer, he won me back yesterday. And just listening to him on the O'Shea Jackson podcast kind of just lessened my hate from a little bit. But at the same time, Punk, the man, is garbage, in my opinion. But Punk, performer, really won me over. Kudos to Drew. I mean, again, this match delivered. I mean, it was the best Hell in a Cell match. And again, for me too, going back to getting rid of those, theme pay-per-views like Hell in a Theme or themes, PLEs like Hell for the Cell, just having it be for a match that actually warrants it. It was just really done really well. It was a really hats off to both guys. Again, Drew doing business and putting Punk over. And I'm curious to see what's next for both these men. I thought, again, just really, really well done. Really, really well done match. Kudos to both.
Thank you, Carlos. Good opening statement. Let's go over to Stampede and your thoughts on this match as well, and your thoughts on Punk now after this match.
I have no use for Punk as outside of his wrestling matches. Since that scrum, he showed me exactly what he is and has continued to do that. That's my take on the man. As for the match, this was the one that had my most interest to see how they were going to do this, and they most definitely delivered. Right, for the style of the match that this was, and the stipulation of it, and the culmination of the feud, they most definitely delivered. Right, there was blood drawn inadvertently with the toolbox spot. Drew had quite a few staples in his head afterwards, so I don't think that's the hard way, most definitely. But in a match of this nature, you would expect blood. They don't always do that. Right, but this one they did, and it called for it, and it made sense. So, match of the night by a wide margin. I gave it a 9 out of 10. That was really good. It was enjoyable. It made sense the way they did it. So, kudos to both guys, and same with Carlos. I'm curious to see where this is going to go for both men now, as far as what their next storyline is going to be, especially with events that took place later on in the show that we'll get to. So good stuff opening up the show. Impressive.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. For me, this was the match of the night. I do, it's weird. I always say that the champion should be on last, and that's always, how proper booking should go. But this is also one of those rare situations where this could have been the main event, and this could have ended the night with a big boom. And it was a final payoff that warranted a Hell in a Cell structure. And, I'm going to go ahead and spoil alert possibly to our December show here at the end of the year, when we always usually go over our match of the year candidates and stuff like that. This definitely is a very strong consideration for feud of the year for me.
I
Because
agree.
these guys have just built such a feud with even Punk being injured and not there. They were still able to keep our interest in a long-term feud with this. And they hit all the different points at different levels. And then, a lot of that, honestly, kudos to Drew McIntyre, keeping it very relevant with his promos while Punk was out. And then Punk did step up and deliver in this matchup as well. So, where do we go from at this point is, definitely a very good narrative. You guys are both saying, I don't know if a Royal Rumble win is in, the plans for one of these guys, maybe, or something else.
Well, for me, it's like go ahead, Stampede. I'll go after you.
Oh, I was just going to say, on the match of the year scope right now, I have it at my number 19.
What about feud of the year?
No, that's Hangman and Swerve, man. Nobody stopped. Then behind them would be Tony and Mariah.
And that's honestly the one thing I appreciate about this. And again, to compare the two, like when I was watching Hangman and Swerve, like that was a little bit too much for me. Like the again, we've already talked about that, but again, it's like the man burned the guy's house down. At the same time, this is over a bracelet. A bracelet again, funny thing, but it's like again, there's ways to get there without having to be so gory, and that's the thing I appreciate about this match. It was like, I feel like it still portrayed the same emotion that Hangman and Swerve did. But at the same time, like for me, if anyone wants to give either one feud of the year, I wouldn't be like, no, you're wrong. I think both are good things for that. But even like when I was watching this yesterday too, and I thought the same thing as Brian, I'm like, man, this feud has been going on since like February, and it's like, and they still kept this going, And again, for me, just kudos to both guys. I'm not going to be mad if they put the title on Punk, but at the same time, I don't see the point of it, because if where I think this bloodline stuff is going, even if he's champion, I don't think it's going to be the main event of WrestleMania. So I think it would be more bad news for him as far as that goes. But for me, I really hope that Punk the Man can find peace, because I feel like he's getting everything he wanted now. And I hope that he can learn to let things go and bring peace to him as a human being, because at the end, he's getting what he wanted. So for him as a person, I hope that he's getting that kind of closure thing, and hope he's getting that happiness. But again, it was just really well done. It was again, kudos. I was really, really impressed with the match. And again, I just hope that Drew gets a big match. Again, congratulations. He deserves every penny he's getting from Endeavor. I just want to see, I'm really curious to see what both these guys deserve to be in spotlight matches. And I'm really curious to see where they go next.
So you think with the bloodline, which is quite prevalent in that promotion, Punk's match at Mania would be get to pay-per-view extravaganza?
I do. I think you're breaking up on me, Stampede. I don't know if it's my end or your end.
Oh, just to quote Mr. Punk when he was with his previous employer.
Yeah.
You think he would profile more of a main event night one of a buy one get two pay-per-view extravaganza?
No, exactly, because I think I think one night's gonna be Solo and Roman, and then I think one night's gonna be Rock and Cody. And so I think he's gonna be if he went in as champion, he'd be opening the show or he'd be in the middle of the show. So to me, like if I'm him, I would just cut it off and be like, I don't need to be champion because it's gonna look bad for him if he is champion, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely think they're going to keep Punk in feuds like this. I believe they will keep him in a feud with a returning John Cena at one point, right? I think they're going to keep him out of that title picture. They might flirt with it once in a while. But at the end of the day, I do believe the WWE is going to be focused on building the now and building the future versus reliving a lot of the past as the world title picture.
And I agree. And that's why I think for him, he should just be proactive and just tell them, don't put the belt on me, because it's not going to get him what he wants.
Now, there was two things that happened with Mr. Punk on his visit to NXT. One being Ethan Page, and the other being Lexis King. So do you think they revisit that for where he's going next? Most likely Ethan. Because
I would love to see Ethan, because I would love to see that because again, that's something he needs to do too, right? Elevate somebody. So I think that would be next. I think that'd be great. I think that would be really good for him to do, is like elevate him to see what's next for him, you know. What do you guys, to answer Miami's question, what's next? What do you guys think would be next for Drew? But I think for Punk, I think that's good. I think elevate Ethan Page, make him a star. I think that would be good. As far as Drew goes, let's see who's a big. Maybe Drew gets Sammy after Sammy gets done with what he's doing. Gunther, that's a baby face, or maybe it's Jey Uso. I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Drew and Damian in a good thing for as well as too. I think that would be a way to elevate Damian as far as Drew. I think for Drew, yeah, give him Jey Uso or give him Damian Priest.
For my intro, go ahead.
I don't think Drew gets pointed in the direction of Jey. I think there's other plans there. I don't see him pointed in the direction of Gunther, because there's obviously other things in play there.
Him as a heel, I think.
Bloodline, he's been there and done that, lost. Yeah. So, you know, he can't lose his next feud, I don't think, because you can't keep doing that to him. So it's going to be very interesting where they place him at, you know, like just based on not only the Punk feud, but everything that has gone on prior to that too, right? Like he's lost a bit. So, Sammy, I don't know. There's some contracts coming up. Sammy's is one of them. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on too, along with Kevin and along with AJ.
But I mean, if they're doing Braun Breaker as a babyface, I would love to see Braun and Drew. Give me that fucking, put that in my veins.
In that scenario, Drew loses that feud.
Another Braun that could be out there is Bronson Reed. Miami the Great kind of putting in our chat versus Drew. Could go that route and just let them all tear havoc. I also could see them going the route of a Damian Priest in a, you know, maybe a 3-month feud or 2-month feud. Just because I feel like there is some unfinished business there from Mania that we've kind of sidestepped. And I feel like it would be a natural pathway for both of them to have a feud, not necessarily for a title, but just kind of a feud where it's familiar.
But I think they both, that's what you want to do, because I think you want to present them both still as like main event guys, upper card guys. So I think feuding with each other, I think would make a lot of sense.
Only thing with that is, as we see later on in the show, that storyline is not done.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if Rhea is still involved with the Judgment Day, then so is Damian.
Well, because I'm just thinking the only other person I could think is the Wyatt, and I do not want Drew with the Wyatts.
No,
you know, because that's in my head. I'm trying to do who's babyface, who's heel. You know, but again, that's where I just, you know, I don't want to see that. But again, if Drew turns babyface after this, but at the same time, I like him as a heel. I think, you know, and if I wouldn't mind seeing Drew and Gable, but at the same time, that would make Drew a babyface. But at the same time, if that's what the crowd wants, that's what the crowd wants too. But I don't think you can turn him babyface when you just turn Braun babyface too. You need heels too.
Yeah.
And I know someone mentioned Bronson Reed.
He's a heel.
He's likely lined up with Seth.
Yeah.
So they'd have to let that program play out first before they got to Drew. Right? And Bronson's a heel.
But I wouldn't mind seeing that match. So. But again, it's two heel. I like them both as heels. That's my thing. They both think serve better as being that heel. But then again, maybe we get a draft in January too. Maybe the Bloodline's going to Raw, and maybe Drew goes to SmackDown if you would Cody. I wouldn't mind that either.
We get a superstar shakeup in the mix.
Yeah.
We're gonna move ahead if you guys are okay with the WWE Women's Championship. Nia Jax versus Bayley. with the underlining theme here being the story outside the ring with Tiffy time and Money in the Bank. And kind of let's go ahead and start with Stampede on this one.
His match of the night. Here we go.
Yeah, no, not not so much, Carl. Is what it is in a Nia match, man. Like, she's not a great in-ring worker. She wasn't a great in-ring worker in this. Bailey did what she could. Right? The outcome of this was never in doubt. Everybody knew Nia was going to win this. I still think, as far as Tiffany goes, they're holding off on this cash-in until Charlotte is closer to her return, because I think that's where it heads once that cash-in is done. Wasn't a horrible match. Wasn't a really good match either. It was. I gave it a 6 out of 10 overall. So see where it goes with the cash-in, but that's eventually going to happen. So it's just not something I'm overly interested in, to be honest with you, because Tiffany's character doesn't really do much for me, and we all know my affection for Nia's in-ring abilities, which are limited at best.
Look, I'll follow up on that too. For me, Nia, this matchup, the word clunky I'm going to use, it just felt a little clunky to me. And I think I've seen these two wrestle before, and it wasn't as like that. But I definitely shout out Michael Cole and the announce team. And I know the WWE is really good at this. They're good at trying to cover up for what's happening in the ring. So if there is a little bit of a, I don't hate the term botch, but if there is a little bit of a clunky type matchup, Michael Cole's the first one. Oh, look, they fought it off, or they reversed it, or, and I'm like, wow, he's really good at doing that in, as an announcer. So kudos to him. But, the story with Tiffany Stratton, I don't feel that her and Nia is the Mania match, but I do think this could be a Rumble type matchup, wrap it up maybe around February, and then, to you guys' point, move on to a Charlotte Flair at Mania or somebody like that in a bigger picture. Carlos, let's get your thoughts on this.
So again, I'm on the island up by myself. I got my Dominic Island, I got my Grayson Waller Island, I got my Nia Jax. I like Nia Jax, and again, is she the most? Again, and I mean, to each their own. But I look at somebody who let go, who's put it in the work, and again, she's still the best wrestler. No, she's not by far. But at the same time, the thing that I can look at it is okay. They're giving her a moveset like the bonsai drop and things like that fits to her better, like to protect her better. So because again, she's not going to go and give you a 5-star match. My problem with this though is they should be booking her as just a badass and somebody make the fans hate her more. Not hate her because she make her give her the hate because it's like Nico Heat because she just goes there and beats people. I don't like them presenting her like kind of this chicken shit way where she needs Tiffany to come in and fake a cash in to get the win over Bailey. Just have Bailey put her over in a convincing way like they did with Lyra in the Queen of the Ring match. That's where I'm having a disconnect with this. Is I don't need her having Tiffany having to do fake cash-ins to get her the win. Just have her be a badass person, just who's getting the decisive victories. That's where the disconnect is for me with this. As far as that's again, the match was serviceable. The thing that I do give them credit for is again when they're only doing 5 matches. I do like that they're giving 2 matches to the ladies, so keep that up. Support women's wrestling. That's the one positive that I'll say out of all this. As far as Bailey goes, what I would like to see them do maybe is do Bailey and Meacham as a tag team and have them go after the tag team titles and give Bailey a rest from singles action.
Yeah, and kind of to pull onto your point there. I always feel like Nia is best booked when she is the Andre the Giant of the women's division.
Yes.
And I always kind of visioned her as that. Like she's that person and she should be plowing through people. And she's definitely not on the get off my TV radar. She's needs to be in the mix. I like her in the WWE. I feel like it's the land of giants in the past. And I feel like she does add a little bit of that too there. But, stronger, dominant Nia is what we'd like to see. Yep, I agree with you, Carlos. Right. Any other thoughts on this one before we move ahead? All right. I was like, I'm just making sure, but I didn't think for the 6 out of 10 match that David gave it that we would be spending more time on it. Next is, I called it the grudge match. It's the Finn Balor versus Damian Priest and the Judgment Day storyline being played out a couple times throughout the night, but here's the first of it that we've seen. And Carlos, go ahead and start off.
So like I was, I like my wrestling podcast, and I was listening to like Bischoff and Conrad yesterday, and a little other people too. And the one thing they kept saying is, like this match could have been on Raw, and and Gunther and Sammy should have been on the PLE. Well, for me, again, when I'm watching the PLE yesterday, I'm like, when they're doing all these dumb skits and like that, that's where I'm like, they should have cut this off and put Gunther and Sammy on the PLE. When I look at them touting about the higher ticker prices, this is where they should, again, if they're going to charge people an arm and a leg, they should have gave them Gunther and Sammy on the PLE. I think, again, I feel like when you look at Damian and you look at Finn, Damian he's done a lot. He's worked his ass off. He's worked hard. Here's a guy who was homeless, living in his car, sacrificing, thinking about giving up wrestling. If you watch his documentary on Peacock, if you haven't watched it, I suggest you do. A guy who's almost going to give up on wrestling, like he busts his ass to be here. Finn Balor, somebody who's capable of so much more, but is willing to take a back seat because he's a company man. He's willing to put people over, to do what's best for business, be a team player. These guys deserve to have a match on the PLE. And so again, was it a match that there's other matches I would have rather seen on here? Yeah, but at the same time, sometimes it's about the talent. And for me, both these men deserve to have this match on the show. I just don't see the point of Judgment Day when you're having three guys out there and Damian beats them and he gets the upper hand. But at the same time, the right guy won. Kudos to Finn for putting him over, but I just wish there was more for Finn. But at the same time, I tip my hat to him for doing what's best for business and putting Damian over. Because again, I'm happy these guys got this match. I'm happy it was presented on the show. And again, on a show where you're giving people CM Punk and Drew in a Hell in a Cell, you're giving them the return of Roman Reigns and Cody teaming together. You can let these guys have the spotlight. So I was happy to see it on the card, and it is what it was. It was a serviceable match, and I think both men showed up and did the best they could for what they were given.
Yeah, I am with you on the Damian Priest he's the right guy in the right place, and the WWE has booked, almost like they booked their future champions. They gave him a little taste of a championship, little shorter of a few months of a run, and then pull it back and then see if he can last on his own. And he's doing that with the feud. And also he's doing that by bleeding over into other feuds and making special appearances. So that's what the WWE likes to do when they test their guys and say, well, can you be relevant in your storyline, but could you also help out in this storyline over here? So giving him the win over Finn Balor, who is a household name, absolutely the right call. For Finn Balor, I don't know when his contract's up, but he may want.
He just resigned.
Did he? Okay, I was gonna say he might want to just open options up and see what's best for him and his family. I don't know what that means, right?
He decided WWE, but I thought he should have went to AEW because there's nothing left for him in WWE except to collect a check. So again, he's happy doing what he's doing.
Yeah,
hats off to him.
And if he's happy in there, I support him either way. Yep. I am a Finn Balor guy. Damian Priest is definitely built for the WWE brand, and he's definitely going to be there. And, so let's go ahead to Stampede and let's get your thoughts on this grudge match.
As a grudge match, this didn't hold a lot of interest. It was a Raw match on a pay-per-view is what it was. I gave it a 7 out of 10, right? It was, like I said, not bad, not great. It was kind of fell in the mid-range for me as far as what went on in the ring. Priest is obviously the main focus of what's going on here because it ain't Balor. Like Balor's background noise in his own storyline, which is the theme. It's going on with somebody else on that roster too. To speak to what Carlos said, he did resign, so he'll be there for the foreseeable future. But Priest is the gem of this one. Like Brian said, he's put the work in. He had a little run with the title, not the best of runs, but it did pick up towards the end of it, right? Just from the way it was booked, not really a reflection on Priest himself. I do see big things for Priest going forward, though. So Hats off to him. And like Carlos said, he's put the work in, man. Like over the years, if you followed him from when he was Punishment Martinez and in NXT, and now the main roster, hats off to him. You know, because he's done a remarkable job. But for Finn, I don't see a high ceiling for him in WWE anymore. I think he is pretty much where he's at.
Do we just post a question for Finn Balor related for you guys? Will there be a feud that's relevant for Finn to bring back the Demon in the next year? And what would you guys think that could be?
The only way the Demon shows up is if they get wrapped up with the Wyatt Six. And I would prefer that not happen.
There you go. I could see it. I like that. Carlos, thoughts on that? Demon
I think eventually, if he turns back to a baby face, then you bring the Demon there. I just don't think the Demon should come out for the heel character. I feel like it fits more of a baby face when you have to turn it up a level and you need to bring out that bad side of you. I could see him eventually having a feud where he has to do that. Maybe him down the line with like a Bronson Reed or something. But his presentation now, no. But for me, I'm like I already said, I'm happy he got this match again for what he's done for Judgment Day. But at the same time, if he should be the leader of Judgment. I mean, again, maybe he lives the leader of Judgment. Who fucking knows what that thing? But it's like I don't want him taking a backseat to Dominic. That's just like a slap in the face too. So I just don't know what to do. It's like if you're gonna let him be a tag team, then let him go into that all the way and quit having him just have to be this guy who puts over people. Present him in a way that he deserves that respect. But yeah, I think eventually as a babyface, but not right now. And then they put him with the Wyatt Six. God, no, please don't do that to his character. He needs to. You say that Demon if he needs it to be a babyface and get a win, not as a heel, and not in this current presentation.
But in that group, he is firmly entrenched in the third spot behind Liv and Dom.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's not falling lower than third is because Carlito and JD are in it.
There, yeah.
Because they've been booked into a black hole. I mean, Carlito's well past his prime. That's obvious. But the booking of JD, I have yet to figure out.
I mean, at least take Carlito's shirt off and let people see the body, and I'll understand why he's there. Oh, Jesus, come on.
Carlito in the Judgment Day just never has made sense for me. He got drafted to Raw, and it was like, well, why don't you just hop in on the bus with us? And but they had him turn on the LWO for cheap heat for one match, but then it didn't. Obviously, again, they had nothing planned after that. So again, you should have left him in the LWO. You could have still had a match with him there. It's just the way it was dumb. The way they did it, it was for no payoff other than being in purgatory.
It's the square peg in the round hole.
Exactly.
Right? It's not. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
As for the Demon, though. It'll depend on how you view previous events. They damaged that character so badly the last couple of times that he did it. You know, if people remember that, bringing it back, I don't know how much of an effect it's going to have. The people that only focus on positive things there, it won't matter. So it'll be a tale of two of how you view things, right?
Keep me honest here. Last time the Demon was used was Roman Reigns Extreme Rules, Columbus, Ohio, right?
That was Edge. Was it Edge or no?
No, it was Roman when he was.
That stupid turnbuckle thing. God damn.
I think that he was convulsing on the floor to the
heartbeat.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your last image of that character.
Yep.
Right, which is not good.
All right, good stuff, guys. Moving ahead, we do have a special announcement from Triple H. So we know it's got a big deal, right? Coming out right in the middle of the show, ready to get the crowd engaged again. And we see a championship under a blanket. We see that Triple H is going to talk about doing the Survivor Series thing that they used to do years ago with champion versus champion at Crown Jewel. And so we'll have the world champion and the WWE champion fighting at Crown Jewel for a new championship, the Crown Jewel Championship. The crowd goes a little silent on this one, I thought. I didn't think they took to it. And then Triple H went into sell mode, 14 karat gold and diamonds, and talked about how cool the title was. And let's go ahead and we'll start with Davey on your thoughts of the championship and the unveil, and could that match work in that situation?
I can't say that I have any interest in this. The more Paul talked when he went into sell mode, the interest level didn't go up any. It actually went down with his talk of diamonds and carrots. Right now, that's going to be Cody versus Gunther. So who comes out of the losing end on that? Right? Like, what one is going to be viewed head and shoulders above the other. And then you're going to get a Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax. Like I don't know what they're doing here. And attaching it to a Saudi show, I know that's their thing, but do better, guys. But so no, I don't have a lot of interest in what they're doing with this. It's essentially an exhibition match, is what it is.
Yeah.
The inclusion of Bill Goldberg into whatever it is they're doing here also didn't heighten my expectations of this going well. I don't know what they're planning there, but they obviously have something on the go. Not overly impressed.
I do want to say I felt the title looked cool. I like big gold titles, but that's about where it ended for me as well. I almost feel the crown jewel is going to be the Las Vegas of the WWE. What happens there kind of stays there. But they want it to be an epic memory. And to your point, Bill Goldberg was introduced in this segment. For those you guys haven't seen yet, I hope people would see by now. But and coming out to, Gunther, who came out, who gave an overview, and Gunther looked like a real champion. He's just morphed into this real suit-wearing champion. And I almost wonder if Goldberg will get involved at Crown Jewel, causing Gunther to lose the beloved Crown Jewel championship, which would still allow them to keep Cody with that little notch in his belt. Carlos, your thoughts?
Do you guys see them maybe like not doing this? Like maybe they go, oh, we were going to do this now, but now because of Gunther and Goldberg, now this because of what happened, we're going to pivot and we're going to do Goldberg versus Gunther instead. Do you guys think they would? No. Okay. Cause that was my thought, was like, cause that match seems like a match that should happen in Saudi. I'm with Stan. Like for me, and this is how I would honestly do these. And again, just maybe if I was the booker, if I was doing WrestleManias, I would do night one, night two. Night one goes to Raw, night two goes to whoever. One night goes to one brand, one night goes to the other, and then I would do these kind of this whole thing like present like Raw versus SmackDown. If you take it away from Survivor Series and you put it to Crown Jewel, whoever wins gets night two, the losers get night one. That's how I would. Anyways, blah blah blah. That's me being fantasy booking. I don't see the point of this. It's dumb. It's just putting lipstick on a pig. It just doesn't. It's just something to add some aura to Saudi. They're trying to get more money out of them, which is basically all they're doing. So they're just trying to make it seem like it's a big deal, but it's not. To me, it's okay. They get a big belt. Who cares? It doesn't. It makes no sense to me. I have zero interest in seeing Liv and Nia versus Nia Jax. Even though they're both, I like Nia. Liv's growing on me, but this match. It doesn't interest me. And with that being said, I don't also want to see them hot shine a title change just for the sake of a match. Just for me, but again, I goes back to, again, don't give them so much credit for the storytelling. Because again, I think if they were really planning this out, they wouldn't be having these two matches for this. I don't think you would do Cody versus Gunther now. I don't think you would do Nia versus Liv. I think it's just about trying to make your golden goose happy and trying to give Saudi something for all the money that they're gouging them for. Is all it seems like.
Like this is a title that is not going to be regularly defended, obviously, right? But the ramifications of those matches, right? They are going to be a thing, right? People are going to see this, For the men's side, Cody obviously needs this win.
Yeah.
Gunther doesn't, right? Like Cody is background noise in his own world title reign, essentially, right? Because he's definitively behind Roman in the bloodline in whatever's going on. Gunther, after that 666-day reign, has kind of solidified himself as, a very top guy. But how do you book that? Right? If Gunther loses, well, then that takes him down a peg, right? If Cody wins, is that going to change his situation in the bloodline at all? Probably not. So it's just a weird dynamic that they set up.
Yeah, it's like it's like just I'd rather see but again, they just did King of the Ring too. It's just, again, for me, they got to just do something better. To me, it just doesn't set well. It doesn't. And again, something just going to me, you're going to put over one of your champ. Just like Stampede says, there's ramifications of this. Makes one person look, it's going to make one look less than the other when you're trying to build both. It's dumb. You're hurting your credibility, your champions, for money, blood money. Let's keep it on bad blood, right?
Unless, like what Brian said, Bill comes in, costs Gunther, which kind of protects him, but it doesn't help Cody because now he beat Gunther without side interference help, right? So, and that's going to lead you to a Gunther Bill match that I think nobody wants.
He wants, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
right?
maybe
Liv and Nia, which could potentially lead to a Tiffany cash-in, right? Which kind of protect. So if their plan is to just overbook the two of these, then why bother doing them? Right?
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's just a weird dynamic that they set up that I don't think they can get themselves out of now. Nor do I think they will.
I agree with that too. Don't overbook this if you're not going to let somebody take the win and loss. Like, don't present something if you're going to try to protect everybody. And then the other thing too, but maybe it's the opposite. Maybe we get the final boss down there to help Gunther.
Who, Dwayne?
Yeah.
Why would Dwayne help Gunther though?
Because he hates Cody.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
Like,
so basically to get over on Cody.
Yeah, but I mean, why would he? Yeah. Well, right, but now you got Gunther with his eyes set on Dwayne.
No, Dwayne helps Gunther win. He costs Cody the match.
Oh, right, the other way around. Okay.
Yeah, other way around, same concept, but just using final boss. I see what you said. Yeah. They could go either way. The title,
it's gonna be one of those ways, probably. Yeah.
It will probably go one of them ways. The title, when they revealed it, I looked at it kind of like, when a baseball team or an NBA team wins a championship and the WWE's right there with a branded title. Hey, look at you, champ. We're going to make you king for a day. Here, you're a champion in our eyes. That's kind of, I think, what they're doing to the Saudi, group over there with this championship. They're like, look, we're making you guys, this is your own championship. And kind of putting the crown on them a little bit, so to speak.
Have a title belt for this thing before?
They did a title for the Royal Rumble. They did a Royal, and then the Royal Rumble, yeah.
The Rumble, yes.
The greatest Royal Rumble, yes.
Yep, they did do that, and that was early in this relationship. So maybe they pitched them the idea of, "Hey, stick with us and do more shows, and we'll make you have your own annual championship." Which,
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Saudi Prince designed the title if he proved it. Again.
This reminds me, not that I want to take it here, but it's a little AEW effect with the Owen Hart Cup championship belts. It reminds me a little of that also, of, hey, we're going to have an annual belt created for you to win here. So, well, cool.
At the onset of that, yeah. Of course, now they kind of pivoted to the winner of the Owen gets a title shot.
Right. Which would be funny if the winner of this got a title shot next year for...
Well, a title shot for what though? They're already
right.
The top
champions. They can't keep doing that because then it lessens the Royal Rumble. It lessens.
They already have them.
Maybe they put Bill Goldberg's streak on the line, and if you win, you get his streak transferred to your record. I don't know.
Yeah, there we go.
So, any other thoughts on this before we move ahead to the Shark match? All right, let's get into the Women's World Championship with Dominique, the Human Pinata, in the Shark Cage, again, and with Rhea Ripley going after to get her title back from Liv Morgan. And we got a little surprised at the end of this with Raquel making her return to help. So, David, let's start with you.
This was complete dog shit from the onset, right? For as long as this has drug on, which is at the start of the year, right? And granted, Ray has been out with injury for a portion of that, but still. This underdelivered in every possible way that it could, right? Like Rhea having lived down and deciding, nah, screw that. I'm going to go beat up Dom, who's hanging from a shark cage that he wasn't supposed to get out of, but figured out. I guess he can pick locks now. I don't know. But deciding to go and beat up him with a kendo stick instead of focusing on their opponent, right? Like just weird match structure altogether. What they did do wasn't that good to begin with. Raquel, who everybody kind of knew, was like, okay, she is coming out. Like that's where this is going. Got no reaction.
No pop.
None. Like none whatsoever, right? And it's not like people outside of the commentary. Who's that? It's like she's on your roster, man.
Right.
Like stop that. Stop treating your audience in that particular fashion, right? Give them some, show them a little bit of respect that they do pay attention and they know who these people are.
Yeah, and it's not like they had her hooded.
Laying Liv over Raquel or laying Liv over Rhea after the bell had already rung.
Like she didn't know what she was doing. Exactly. Dumb. Yeah, exactly.
Like, so just, I know if Simon's going to listen to this, he won't be happy, but like this was horrible, man. Horrible. And for the amount of time that this storyline has gone on, to deliver that on a very important show that you have heavily promoted, and to have this, and this is going to go on. This is going to continue, right? Now we're going to get Rhea and Raquel. Like I'm not excited about that at all, right? So mercifully, I gave this a 4 out of 10. But that's being extremely generous. So, wasn't impressed.
For me, it happened. It was there. And then I can't help but wonder if they're going to lead to a traditional Survivor Series matchup between a Judgment Day faction, but a mixed tag version, right? Like, and then couple females and guys on one side, couple females and guys on the other, and do a traditional elimination match at Survivor Series.
God, no, I have zero interest in that.
I'm just trying to
erase that from your brain, Ballard.
Yeah, I feel like they're doing something like that to set up the next show, and that's why they want Raquel in there, and that's why they want to add more pieces to this puzzle. And we'll see if that happens or not, right?
No, they're setting up for when Alexa Bliss comes back to join the Wyatts. Then you have 2 girls and 2 girls. Come on.
Yep, there you go. Because I feel like they're going to do something in that format. Yep. But overall, the match, the crowd felt very dead in it, except for when Dom was getting lit up like the pinata. But other than that, and a lot of people asked why, the cage wasn't suspended above the ring. You had the Hell in the Cell structure up above there, so it's kind of hard to add that in. I seen that online, which makes sense. But Carlos, your thoughts on this one? If there's anything different or the same as ours?
So for people like listening in, so I was working yesterday for during this. So when I went on break, I saw the ending of the Nia and Bailey match. I didn't have no desire to go home, and when I got home, I did not go watch the whole match. So and then something that Bully says is like, Bully Ray, like, listen to the match, right? So I was listening to this match, and you guys are on point. There was nothing that happened to this. The only thing I wanted to see was, because again, like hearing how Michael Cole sold the whole Raquel thing and sold the Dominic thing. So when I got home, I watched the Punk and Drew match. Then I fast forwarded to this, and I was watching the ending. But yeah, there was no pop. So again, Raquel's good as a heel because as a babyface, she's not over either. So again, put her as a heel is the best way for her to survive. Again, congrats to all the Liv and Dom stands who were predicting that so Raquel was going to join them. You were right. So kudos to you guys. Again, good job on sacrificing all those chickens that you did to get that to happen. But for me, the one thing I want to give for this is just, again, a positive for Dom. I've always been on the Dominic train. To me, don't make him Intercontinental champion, especially after you've done so much to build that belt up. I feel like making him a champion would bring it down. And I'm saying this as a fan of Dominic Mysterio. He doesn't need a title, and it just doesn't deserve it for his in-ring. But as a performer, he's come a long way from being on his dad's side and coming out to no pop, just being this dumb, just white meat baby face. So I want to give Dominic the credit as a performer. He's come a long way, being willing to hang from the cage and get lit up as a piñata. For Dominic, he's come a long way as a performer, part of his character. So I want to give him praise for that. Other than that, I don't. Again, and me and Stampede, we're gonna look stupid because we said there's no way Liv's gonna have a match at Mania. If they drag us out to Mania, God help us all.
Well, I was more hopeful just because I cover this stuff, but it seems like I'm stuck covering that particular stuff until the spring. As far as Raquel goes, like, they have to come up with some sort of character for her other than I'm a face and I smile a lot, and now I'm a heel, so I frown a lot.
Yeah.
If that's all that they can come up with, then this is not going to work. Right.
But when she was first presented, when she was with Dakota Kai, I feel like she was at her best. Like, she was just being a kind of a bitch. Like, put her back as that. Like, she needs to go back and watch her old NXT when she was with Dakota. Like, she was fine then. Like, she just needs to get off the face.
Right, but that applies to not only Raquel on the main roster. Right, a lot of people that were booked in NXT that have come up to the main roster has not translated. Either they don't watch their own product, or they think they shouldn't have to, is the impression I get. Because Raquel is one of them, Baron Corbin would be another, recently departed Dijak would be another one. Like, there's a theme there, right? So I wish they would fix that.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. The Raquel,
Mustafa Ali, there's another one. Right.
I think Raquel they're hiding her in the group too. So I think that's also strategic a little bit too.
Yeah, and it's funny too. Like, because again, we're talking about, listening to it, because again, and I'm happy for her to be back, because again, she deals with her skin thing. But again, I thought the way they presented, like, Michael Cole's like, who is that? I'm like, is she under a mask? Are they masking? Are they keeping her in a mask in case her skin thing pops back up and she can still wrestle? No, they're just acting like the crowd's dumb. Okay.
Yeah, like, don't talk to your audience as if they're stupid.
Yeah.
They've had a long history of doing that under Vince and now under Paul. They don't do it as much now as they used to, but they do still do it. And I wish they would stop. It's insulting to them. Right? Definitely insulting to me. Because, but
at least they can do, at least they can do this Liv match at Mania now, because next month we'll get the Liv and Rhea pose back. We'll get the Rhea and the Raquel back pose down, and then we'll get the arm wrestling match. Then eventually we'll get a match. Then we'll get back to Liv. So again, guys, at least they'll keep us entertained.
Well, entertained might be
Stampede breaking his TV. I'm just poking you, Stampede.
Liv versus Rhea Ripley, a Dominic Mysterio on a pole match. Winner gets custody of Dominic. There you go.
Vicky Guerrero's a special referee.
There you go. If you guys are okay, let's move ahead to the final stage and the final boss and the main event of the tag team matchup, New Bloodline versus the Unlikely Alliance of Cody and Roman, and the return finally of The Rock coming back to promote his newest Santa with Muscles movie, or whatever the name of it is, as I said. Back just in time for the holidays to promote himself, promote his movie, and start a storyline for Mania. Kind of I always kind of preface, and I'll start off with, I feel like these Bloodline matches, they're always very story heavy, and the matches themselves take a very long time, and they're a very slow burn in the ring. And then they get to like the third act of the match and then the payoff, which is the storyline base. And I felt like, the first half of the match, it took me a minute because I was like, oh, this is dragging for me. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is the Bloodline storyline again. I got to get myself back in that mentality of these kind of matches. But, it was a placeholder for me, which then just led to The Rock coming back and then setting up, obviously War Games or something of that nature. Carlos, let's bounce right over back to you and get your thoughts.
So again, we talked about this on our spaces, and it is what it is, right? I feel like WWE, for their fans, for their high ticket prices, for what they're charging, for what their brand is, it's not about the action, it's about the moments, right? And that's all this is. That's all this Bloodline story is. It's the moments, right? So it wasn't even about the action in the ring. It was about the fact that Roman came back his first match, because they're teaming with Cody, getting Jey Uso back, and getting the Rock, the final boss, back. That's all this was about. It was about the moments. For me as a fan, I just don't know why I'm supposed to care when, again, we probably predicted that was going to be the new Bloodline. So again, Solo and Jacob beating Roman and Cody. That didn't happen. So I don't understand why I'm supposed to be invested in seeing them and carry this feud when they're presented so weak. And again, there's so many different ways they could take this now. Again, they just added Brock Lesnar back on the roster. Is Rock going to bring in Brock as his assassin to take out Roman? There's so many different ways that They did what? They put Brock Lesnar back on the active roster.
Of course they did.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's so I just don't know where they're taking all this shit. And again, I don't see what the point is. Present again. If you want, Roman wants to feed his family, feed him by taking the pin. I just don't know where this goes. Again, I don't know. Again, it was about the moments. I'm happy to, as a fan, a happy accident. Again, if it wasn't for the Cody crybabies, we wouldn't get The Rock being here right now. So thank the fans for making you have to pivot, because we wouldn't be getting this if it wasn't for that. That's all I'm going to say. I'm done.
Let me tag on to your point, then I'm gonna go over to Stampede or to Davey over here. But to the point you said about Roman not wanting to take the pin, or not taking the pin in this situation, it's interesting because they did allow Cody to take a pin in a similar tag match over the summer. So
yes,
do they value Roman a little more than Cody in the bigger picture? And that's something I just kind of thought.
And before Stampede says, to answer what you said, Brian, I think that people need to realize what is the one thing they've wanted this whole time is to have Roman over as an Uber babyface. That's all they've wanted. So they're getting that now. So now it's validation for WWE that they've been right all along. So for them, they will sacrifice everything else, because at the end of the day, they want to be right. And that's what we're seeing right now. Even Cody Rhodes.
Nope. Very good point. Thank you. Stampede, your thoughts on this match and anything else we brought up?
Well, to answer your question, Brian, yes, they do value Roman.
Yep.
Far more highly than they do Cody. That's obvious, right? Because Cody is kind of background noise in the Bloodline story that he's been reinserted into. Right.
Yeah, it's almost as
these
if
types of matches you have to. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say it's almost as if, you went out and got successful without us, so we want you back, but we're going to keep that in the back of our mind.
No, and that's true, and that's again just going to this all again. Cody is not their product. He's a product of on his own AEW. So it's at the end of the day, it's they're just keeping him happy to a point. Like to what the rumors have been saying, that is if Cody's the one out there feeding his fanatics numbers, he knows this already. So he's just trying to fight the machine. But at the end of the day, the machine's going to want their chosen one, which is Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Like everything about Cody is not WWE.
Yeah.
They didn't create any of it. Right. Last we seen him, he had face paint on. That's what they created. So Cody did this all on himself, and hats off to him, right? But he's most definitely not their creation. Roman most definitely is, because Roman's never been anywhere else. So for anyone thinking that, you know, all the pettiness is gone,
No,
there's
it's
another
not.
example that's
Yep.
not.
100%.
Right. And there's, well, numerous examples of that. But as for the match, like I said, you have to kind of look at these matches for what you know they're going to be. Right. And Brian described it quite accurately, right? They're a slow pace, methodical, very storyline driven type of match. Right. So if you look at it and you in that sense and you kind of grade it on what they're going to set out to do, you can look at it in kind of a different spin, right? They're never going to be matches of the year. They're just not structured that way. But for the story they were trying to tell and the way they went about it, I did think that they did a good job. I rewatched it this morning. All in all, I gave it an 8.25. So for what they set out to do, they did a good job with it, right? Dwayne coming back, everybody kind of expected that, and that happened. Where it goes, who knows? You know, and Roman not eating the pin, I found that kind of odd, but you know, is what it is. It's not a storyline I'm invested in. Like I stopped being interested in this in the Sammy match with Roman, but for following what's going on, I thought they did a good job with the match as far as how it was laid out, and they kept the interference and the shenanigans to as much of a bare minimum as they could. So, like with Jimmy coming back, that was at the very tail end, right? So, all in all, the good job, good main event. I still think Punk and Drew should have main event.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, very good dialogue with all of us here back and forth on this one. Also, you know, like the overall, we do feel like it is setting up towards the next big thing, so to speak, or the next bigger things. Is there any overall thoughts on bad?
Can we talk about what happened last? Are we still going to talk about what happened at the end of the show?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
I was like, where
All
else do we want to, you know, kind of open dialogue on Bad Blood and kind of what we got overall, and then towards the end as well. So, Carlos, go ahead. Sorry.
For me, I think again, it was again when you have it was a good structured paper. I mean, it's structured again. Like I said, like we've already said, I would have swapped them out. You know, I would have had Punk and Drew. But again, for me, I'm happy to see that they're getting that again. That Punk survived this. That they were able to pay this off for the fans. Give this match a proper thing. It was a fine PLE. Again, they made it an event. They again having Jade and those guys all being the hosts. It is fine for what it is. Again, I want to just remind people, I'm not paying to go see this live because if I would have been there, I would have been pissed because I would have been like, you should give me another match. But for what it is, something I get to watch on free because again, I get Peacock for free. I can't really complain about it. It's something that I get. It's something enjoyable to watch on a Saturday. It's serviceable for what it was. It was a fun event, and it has me curious. It does have me curious to what's going to happen next. So again, that's what you want in storytelling.
Stampede.
So, as with WWE shows, PLEs especially, less than half of this show had in-ring content. So, kind of drug in spots. Like I found myself saying, it's like, okay, are you ever going to get to what I've tuned in to see here? Right? That's a common theme with them, though. So, you know, I wish they would fix that, but obviously they're not going to. That's their model for what they do. Overall, though, I gave it a 7 out of 10 because the first match absolutely delivered, if not over delivered. The last match set out to what it was due, and there was a couple of mids and the disaster that was Liv and Rhea.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with your 7 of 10. 4 of those points definitely being for the opening matchup. And then, you know, you could tell there was an effort throughout. I would, you know, I always go back and forth, right? Because there's other, like with AEW, we get a lot of matches, right? But it is a pay-per-view model. Where WWE, it's a PLE model. We get some advertisements in there to compensate, but less matches. I always feel like a 7-8 match card is the sweet spot. But what do you guys feel?
I feel like, again, it should have had more matches on there, especially when you are charging the amount of money you're charging. Just give the people their money's worth. I mean, again, and for me as a fan, I can sit there and be a little overwhelmed sometimes because, again, I want to look. I'm always appreciating it from a fan's perspective. I agree. I think 6 or 7 is a sweet spot. I think 6 for these I think 6 for these, and then 7 for the bigger shows would suffice fine.
Yeah, and then to your guys' point, I don't know if I would have paid to go into the arena.
The problem with that is,
go ahead.
the problem with that is when they do the longer shows with more matches, they're going to top out at the 4-hour mark, right?
Yep.
You're not getting any more in-ring content via percentage of the show. You're getting about the same, sometimes less when they did those. So more matches, but you're getting more filler.
But see, that's where I'm talking about. I want more matches, less filler. That's where,
Yeah,
yeah.
But it's just how they structure things.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. No,
you'll
for
get
sure.
more matches, but you're getting just as much filler, if not a little bit more. So,
and the thing about them is, again, and it needs to be a fine mix, right? So where AEW, they're not catering toward casuals, but as a fan who's not a casual, I appreciate that. As somebody who's watching this, they're catering to the casual fan, and as a diehard, I got to put up with it because there's a lot of filler because they're trying to fill for the casual. But at the same time, if you're going to do a pre-show, you've already sold the match there, so why do you got to do it on the damn PLE as well? It's just like, pick your poison. So I think there's a happy medium where they could accomplish the same thing by giving us more of what we want instead of just having to just put up with it because they're trying to cater to the casuals.
Yep.
And just to give you an idea, on average, and this is not a one versus the others. This is just numbers that don't lie. An AEW pay-per-view will, on average, give you about 67% in-ring content per pay-per-view, right? So you're there and you are watching wrestling. That's what you tuned in for, right? That's what you bought the pay-per-view for. WWE will average around 50 at best on a regular basis. That's a big discrepancy between the two, just in how they're structured and how they're presented. But I'm with Carlos. It's a pay-per-view. You know why you're there. Like,
Yeah.
You don't need all this, build within the show for a show that you already tuned in to watch based on the weekly programming. So I don't know why they do that.
Stampede just gave me this great idea. I feel like we need to do a show with you, like almost like a post show where you give all stats, not about attendance and, we took in the biggest gate and we really fleeced them today, guys, but
that would be a short show.
And it would be the show.
I could care less about attendance.
It's the show where you would say, we only had to work 37% of the time tonight. Good job, guys. So it'd be kind of a parody, if you will,
But that's a model for the weekly shows too, right?
Yeah.
Like, like an AEW show, like a Dynamite or a Collision, you're going to get about a 50-50 split on average, right? That's what they do. A Raw and a SmackDown, when you put those two together, they're averaging out at about 33%. Once again, that's another big drop, and it's about the same amount of drop as the pay-per-view and the PLE averages. There's about a 17% difference between what they do week to week and what they do pay-per-view to pay-per-view. So it's consistent. It's just not good.
Was there any other topics on Bad Blood or that evening that you guys want to discuss?
The Kevin Owens thing, right?
Okay, let's go ahead and lead there. Go ahead and take lead on it, Carlos.
So after the show, they Triple H said that Cody couldn't make it. The reason why is they did a segment. Again, it wasn't filmed. They more did it for a social media thing. But Kevin Owens attacks Cody Rhodes outside by his trailer, and so now Kevin Owens has turned heel. I think, and I know Stampede's probably on the same side of me. I think this means Kevin Owens is leaving. Because to me, that's the only thing I'm going to accept. Because if you're turning him heel again and he's staying, I'm going to be pissed. Because I'm tired of these heel babyface things for him. I really think this is a sign of he's not going to resign. So we're going to have him turn heel and have him do business on the way out the door.
Stampede, do you agree with that?
100%. I think I think we're going to see in the next, whenever his contract is up, I think we're going to see Kevin Steen back, most likely in AEW. And I'm getting the same impression with AJ.
Yep.
I think when AJ's is up, I think he's gone too. As for why they did this on social media, it's the only place they could do it, because Cody's match was last. So where else are you going to do that? People are complaining, right? But it's a model that is used elsewhere that works, right? Sammy's a bit of a wild card. Sammy's one to keep an eye on. If they insert him back into the bloodline, he's probably staying. If they don't,
but for me, it was
towards him leaving.
Go ahead, Carlos.
But because for me, it's too obvious. I don't think the heel turn was something they were going to do. I really think it, and I do still think Randy's turning heel too, but I thought it was going to be Randy turning Kevin staying face. So again, for me, because that was just too obvious. So to me, this just plays out like, again, it's he's decided he's not staying. They don't think he's staying, so they're going to have him do the honors and turn. And they're doing this to have him put over Cody and whoever else they want on the way out. But like to Stampede said, like this is something different. Again, when you can't do this afterwards when you just had the biggest box office in the Rock come back, and because again it would just take away from that. And to say what Stampede said, you can't hear one thing, and so everyone's happy because The Rock gave you a little bit of crumbs, and he did something on social media that everything's blowing up. But they be mad at WWE for doing the same thing. It's smart and it's different, and nothing ventured, nothing gained. And again, you can't overshadow The Rock by doing this on WWE television as well. So that's the reason for the way it was done.
And the same people complaining about this being on social media,
are praising The Rock.
The same people that are drooling over the fact that Candice LeRae is now a speed champion, which is done on social media.
Yeah.
Can't have it both ways, guys. Pick one.
Yeah.
You either like them doing it or you don't like them doing it.
And, with the Kevin storyline, it does blend into the Rock storyline a little. At the end with the Rock giving the neck slash, that is almost the mob boss putting a hit on Cody Rhodes and putting a hit on Roman. So I think somebody just cashed in on the hit a little bit. And I like that they did do it off camera to kind of blur the storyline a little. But post media conference, they were like, oh, well, where's Cody? Oh, he couldn't make it. Right. So it made people wonder on the ideas that, Kevin could leave, or even AJ Styles could leave to AEW. I would welcome that. I definitely feel they would benefit. They're the kind of guys that can make it work anywhere they go. And this is probably just me paying attention and looking too much.
A lot of history there too. Right?
Oh, what's that?
The two of them have a lot of history there too.
Yeah,
like the people on the roster. Like AJ was Bullet Club. There's lots of ways they can go there. Kevin Owens, when he was Kevin Steen, like he got stuck with the Bucks and all those guys. And if you can get Sammy with him, right, you might get that guy that's been running the orphanage for the last however many years back.
Well, one of the things I've noticed on their programming, and I might be looking too much into it, but wrestling is cryptic and it's fun. And I've noticed a lot of styles clashes on AEW programming being done in the last few weeks, almost like a yoo-hoo, Mr. Styles, yoo-hoo, and Will Ospreay has been known to do things like that to get the eyes of Ricochet. And could he do it again with Styles? That's kind of my speculation.
Well, he most likely is, because I mean, when Will first started out, AJ was the guy for him, right? Like that's his childhood hero as far as wrestling goes. So that would make perfect sense, And they did do the same with Ricochet, right? Yep. But the subtle hints they'll do, like you have to watch to catch on, right? They're doing the same thing with Omega. You're seeing a lot of Snapdragons, and you're seeing like Omega's name is popping up all over with commentary now, right?
Yeah.
Little hint, guys. If you're paying attention, he's coming back soon. Sure enough, he's coming back at Wrestle Dynasty. So, for those that don't know, him and Tanahashi are facing the Bucks at Wrestle Dynasty, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else before we wrap up?
think we're good. I think we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. I think it's a good time. I think we're good.
All right. So with that being said, we'll do final shout outs and thank yous to everyone, and then we'll wrap up. Check us out over, definitely on Twitter. We'll have you guys give your handles. Mine's at the Brian Adkins. Carlos and Davey, they do amazing work over there, both of you guys, with your Twitter spaces. You guys have created a great community over there of people. And speaking of communities, we've also created a Fans of Pro Wrestling community, Wrestling Fans Insight community on Twitter. And if you want to join, just inbox one of us and let us know, and we'll get you an invite over to there. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that participates in our version of the IWC. And hopefully you guys get out of it what we get out of it. And we'll go to final closing thoughts to Davey and then Carlos.
Yeah, like the people in our spaces, like you are the guys that make the spaces work. So, hats off to everyone that joins us every week. Generally twice, sometimes 3, depending on what's going on. The wrestling community we started, definitely get in on that. There's lots of good content coming to there. And, just keep enjoying wrestling, right? If lots of good stuff out there, not just WWE and AEW. Wide range of stuff. If you ever have any questions on it, reach out to either myself or Carlos, and we'll answer them for you. If we don't know the answer right off the bat, we will go find it for you.
Carlos?
So I just want to, again, shout out, I know again, just shout out to our team members, to Heather, John, and Will, who aren't here. But I just want to shout out my Twitter handle is C to the LOS 77, also Conquer the No, and then also on Instagram, Rainbow Goodness _. But I want to just shout out the Stage Up Network, and then the Stage Up community, who we're part of them. Also to the Titans, to Primetime Sports Fix, our Wrestling Fans Insight, DWE Forever, Nate's Plug Chat, Patrick's Happy Hour, and then the God Mode Era, Pepsi Plungers, just everyone who's on these different chats with us, comes on and supports us. We thank you guys. Again, there's you can pick your communities, X can be a very toxic place for wrestling. We choose to have a positive space, and again, you can choose who you engage with, and just protect your mental health, protect your state of mind, protect your fandom, and choose your battles, and just keep your community a positive one.
Guys, that's going to be it for us, from our opening moments talking about Hell in a Cell to the new championship revealed at Crown Jewel, all the way to the final boss. We are finally going to get out of here. Have a good evening. Good night.